First, a poem by a favorite poet of mine, Constantine Kafafi. The poem is called Voices. Ideal and dearly beloved voices of those who are dead, or of those who are lost to us like the dead. Sometimes they speak to us in dreams. Sometimes in thought, the mind hears them. And for a moment, with their echo, other echoes return from the first poetry of our lives, like music that extinguishes the far-off night. Recently, the Benicia Herald has been reprinting articles from the 1940s, stories about World War II, and how that war affected the citizens of Benicia and the nation. I was 10 when Pearl Harbor was attacked, 12 when my beloved uncle was shot down over North Africa, and 14 when the formal state of war finally ended. So the Benicia Herald articles bring back many memories. Military forces fought in strange parts of the world, advancing, retreating, suffering, and dying. At home, sugar, meat, butter, tires, and gasoline were all rationed. Folks started victory gardens and grew their own vegetables. We tightened our belts. Men were drafted. There were thousands of deaths. There were thousands of casualties and prisoners of war. So I, like many of you about my age, was brought up in a culture when war was normal. I did poorly in high school, but like many others, I remember the phrase from Horace that is also written in marble at the Arlington National Cemetery: Dulce et decorum est pro patria mori. It is sweet and fitting to die for one's country. The formal cessation of hostilities in 1945 didn't really end the war. Aftershocks and low-scale conflict continued throughout the world. The French were losing control of Indochina and Algeria. Yugoslavia was tearing itself apart along religious lines. Spain's hold on West Africa grew weaker. Belgium was losing its very lucrative holdings in the Congo. Korea was becoming more polarized. Some aftershocks of World War II erupted into full-scale conflict involving the United States. The echoes and aftershocks continue to this very day, Memorial Day 2012, one day out of 365 when many Americans remember and honor our beloved military dead. In 1950, along with many of you, I suspect, I volunteered for the Korean War because I thought it was the sweet and proper thing to do. I retired with 20 years of service, and after a brief interlude, returned to the Army as a civilian employee and served for another 20 years. I remember my comrades from the Korean War, a war that has not yet formally ended. I remember comrades killed in Vietnam. I remember soldiers going off to Desert Storm and subsequent operations in the Middle East. I remember our graves in the Philippines, in France, in Germany, and Italy. These were good soldiers, and I believe with every fiber of my being that God never made anything better than a good soldier. Conversely, I am convinced that those who profit from the loss of soldiers' lives are beneath our contempt. Gold Star mothers and grieving fathers, spouses, and their children remember their dead soldiers every day. For them, the image of the fallen soldier persists. It shapes their future. Today we will hear the bugle call Taps, written during our bloody Civil War. Two unofficial verses are as follows. Day is done, gone the sun from the lake, from the hills, from the sky. All is well, safely rest, God is nigh. Then, good night, peaceful night, till the light of the dawn shineth forth. God is near, do not fear, friend, good night. I want to see the city. I want to see the city in the rain, when folks have given in to getting wet and raise their faces to the neon glow and watch the streetcars come and go. Come with me. We can walk in the park in the evening where freed apartment dogs cavort unleashed to sniff and yap as owners chat of this and that. Come with me. Let us sit on the sand by the sea as the surf crashes in from China and watch the yachts or buy a book or merely look. Come with me.
Oh, nice.